Hello everyone and welcome back to Best of the Month. Now this is probably the first time where it's been super easy for me to decide what was my favourite game. But first of all, let's see what some of the other creators had to pick for their favourite of the month.
Hey everybody, welcome back to this Best of the Month for the best plays for the month of September. Well, I think we played a lot of good games this month. I feel like we say that every month. But this month we actually ended up going to Grand Con, which is a local convention, and we played a bunch of new to us games there. However, I don't think any of the games that we picked this month are from there. But my pick is going to be Comic Hunters, okay? So there's a lot to like about this game. The first thing you're going to like about this game, or at least I'm going to like about this game, is the cards, because they're all actual Marvel comic art. And while we're playing this game, I'm thinking, I have that one. I read that one as a kid. That sort of thing, right? So, anyway, the game itself is basically a set collection game. And you get the cards, comics, by doing a series of different types of drafts.
Yes.
If you look at the board here, there's 4 different types of drafts. The first one is the comic shop draft, where all you do is like a normal pick and pass type draft.
Yes. The generic draft.
Yeah, like what everybody thinks of as a draft, right? The second one is the flea market, where basically everyone is making piles of cards, and then everybody gets to choose one like pile, or I guess it's a row, and everybody gets a row. So when you're like distributing them, you want to try to do it as evenly as possible, because if you make one too good, then everyone's gonna want that one, right? So then the next sort of draft is the online, like eBay, basically, like an online thing. And in that one, you are you're doing like an auction sort of draft, where you're bidding like these points that you have over here to get the different rows of cards. Some have more and some have less in them, but you don't want to overpay because the auction points are also your score. And then the last sort of draft is a really interesting one. I've never seen anything like this, where basically there's a grid of cards, and you're able to move one card, and then you take all of them in a row that belong to like that specific comic character, or like row or column.
Like Spider-Man, and you get like a row, and every single one that has Spider-Man in it, you get that.
Right, but you can subtly manipulate it by moving a card around.
This is basically the only time you don't want to go first.
Right, because sometimes, the more manipulation can open up as you play, as other people take their turns.
Yes.
So this is a really fun game, and I wanted to mention that one of the reasons that it was my pick this month is we actually got to teach it to someone at Grand Con, because I brought it along.
Yes.
And we got to teach it to John Gilmore, who you may know from these games that he's designed. I'll put a picture right there. So that was super cool. Teaching it to like a famous designer, and he had never played it before. So my pick of the month is going to be Comic Hunters.
My pick is R Eco, which is a interesting game where you're trying to get these point cards.
Mm-hmm. It's just a card game, right?
Yes, it is a card game. And in these, to get these point cards, you have these this recycling.
Yeah, like trash that needs to be recycled.
Yes. And so with this recycling, you play it to certain piles. So like a red card will go to the red pile, and things like that.
It's like the factory, right? It's the different factories that recycle different materials. So your
goal is to get 4 in that area. That doesn't mean 4 cards, because as you can see here, sometimes there's double cards, and it has a 2 times power. Mm-hmm. And when you get 4, you get to take the point card. And
Well, what else do you have to do?
So here's the thing. So when you place down a card, you have to always take what's on the bottom,
which is like the trash bin.
The trash.
Mm-hmm.
And once you take from the bottom, it gets replaced for how many cards you have plus 1. Mm-hmm. So it can get really dangerous.
Yeah, the trash pile
because your hand limit is 5, and if you go over that, each card is a negative point.
Yes.
And here's the thing. The points can go to end the game, you have to get the 5 point in one of the piles. Mm-hmm. And though there is in every single pile there's a dangerous -2 point.
Yeah.
So you really gotta watch out for that. While trying to manipulate to get all the cards you want, and also without going over 5. Another trick is that you can not score a type of card unless you have more than one of it.
Right.
So technically, if you only got one, if you only get the -2, then it doesn't score.
It's not going to hurt you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you get the -2 and the 1, well, that's
Then
-1
it's
point.
-1, which is not a good thing.
No.
What would be even worse is actually getting the -2 and the 0.
Yeah.
Because the first one is the 0, but I mean you gotta take it.
Somebody has to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically a card game about recycling, right?
Yeah.
So what do you like about this game?
I like the manipulation and like the craziness that it can get up to. Because sometimes it is really difficult to figure out what is the most the best situation.
Yeah, we're not gonna get a bunch of trash in your hand and take a bunch.
It
of
is really hard at the when the trash piles start to fill up. it gets stressful.
And nobody wants to take the trash. Yeah.
And when you have like this in your hand, 3 green cards, and no one's playing a green in that thing, and you really don't want to open it up for anyone, that's really annoying. But you gotta work around that.
Yeah. Yeah. What I like about that game is how fast it plays, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like,
it
boom,
plays
boom, boom,
really
cards,
fast.
cards, take cards. Yeah. It plays super fast. So, yeah, I guess, is that it about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
okay, cool.
Pretty simple, just really hard to, try and manipulate it to what you need it to be.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so yeah, those are our picks for this month. Thanks again for having us on this show. We have a great time doing it every month, right? Yeah, so, all right. That was September, and I guess we'll see you next month. Bye.
Hi, I'm Julian and this is Libby and we are Boxed Meeples. You can find us right here on YouTube but also on Instagram and Twitter. So what's been our favourite game of September?
Well, this month we had a wonderful trip holiday to LA amongst other places, and whilst we were there we met up with one of our friends, Billy Indiana. If you don't follow him already, do so. And we played a couple of games with him, one of which was Planet Unknown, and I really enjoyed the experience for just meeting up with gaming friends that you haven't actually met before but you talk a lot to online. But the gameplay itself was great too. It was one of those sort of poly-omino tile placement games. I liked the fact that depending on where you were sat depended on what you got to pick from. So there's sort of a larger tile and a sort of smaller tile that was in the row in front of where I was sat, and I could pick either one of those and sort of place them around, and you're trying to sort of fill up as much of the board. You can move your little rovers around to try to sort of get rid of some bits so you can actually place more tiles over the top of that area, and you're trying to get up the tracks to increase your points, and I ended up winning.
You did.
So that was fun.
I really like the kind of Lazy Susan style rotation of the tiles.
Yeah.
And in 2-player, you actually play it so you sit opposite and you can kind of see the tiles coming up. And
Yes.
That kind of factors into the gameplay.
But we played as a 6, so
Yeah.
that was quite nice to sort of be restricted to this one section. And
Yeah,
that was
it made it kind of super tense because whoever's turn it was got to pick which part of the Lazy Susan they were going to pluck from, and you're like, no, don't choose that one because I desperately need that combination of tiles to fill in a gap.
Yeah, because you're looking at not only the shapes, you're also looking at what colour terrain and how that's going to match up with what you need in terms of what you want to boost on your tracks and what it's going to sit next to, and the other elements that it's going to give you. So it was a lot of sort of, I really need that one. Please let that one come my way.
And it was good because you didn't quite know when the game was going to end. It was a case of whoever took the last tile ended the game. So potentially you could avoid taking the last tile to elongate the game if you wanted to, or end it early if you knew you were in a winning position, which is what I attempted to do because I thought driving a rover around was a good plan. It wasn't.
Yeah, but I had a great time and it was lovely to meet people. So it was just a really great gaming experience this month.
Well, you're kind of talking about how often an experience or a moment in life can kind of elevate a game. That isn't. It's not best game in your collection, but there's a special feeling that's connected to it, which is why I've picked The Rocketeer. Now, we can't get this in the UK, it's not available. Lots of kind of these games, the Disney licensed games, we can't get in the UK. So I knew I wanted to get this because this is a film I loved as a child. You know, I remember having this on VHS and watching it on repeat. I really loved the Rocketeer film from the 80s. Although, you know, my bubble was slightly burst and I showed it to you and I started to see the cracks in that film. But anyway, I knew I wanted to get this game, particularly as it's been generally well reviewed. It's for a licensed game, people seem to really enjoy it. We weren't able to get hold of it anywhere in America. It seemed it had sold out, apart from on Amazon. And someone we know from a Discord group called Eric fixed us up. And he said he wanted us to have this because it was like an engagement present for us. Which,
So engaged on holiday.
which is another reason why I really wanted to get this, because I proposed at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, which features in this game.
It is, it's a whole location in the game.
So that was a reason that I had to get my hands on this game. Emotional reasons aside, this is actually a really fun two-player game.
Yeah.
You play, one side plays as the heroes, the other plays as the villains, and you're basically racing to kind of collect points by obscuring where the plans are. Basically, the plans of the rocket pack are somewhere amongst your player board, and your opponent has to grab it to basically get points. It has a kind of set duration of time, which can be longer or shorter depending on which cards are drawn, and it's incredibly nicely tied to the film. You know, there's certain bits. I don't know why I'm trying to avoid spoiling a 40-year-old film, but there's bits at the end where one character kind of changes allegiance, and that's reflected in the game. And certain characters behave in ways that are in keeping with the characters from the film. It plays it kind of similarly to Villainous, I suppose, in that you're moving around locations on a board. It's very much dependent on luck. Card draws though, but it is a way of cycling through that deck to get the cards you want. So I think it was, it's a more you play it, the quicker you play it. We can get through a game now in half an hour, and I really enjoy playing it. So from a game that I was excited about because of nostalgia to a game that became emotionally significant, and to have it actually be a fun game we will regularly play was a big success.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pleased that we have it in the collection, obviously just for the emotional side of things, but it's nice that you have the nostalgia too. And it's actually really pretty box, like it's a nice production for that style of game. I was quite impressed with the sort of little gold edging and stuff, really got a few little details nicely.
Yeah, so this has become a kind of prized part of our collection.
Hello, I'm Adam from Board at Home, and welcome to the Don't Be Bored Best of the Month. For my best of the month, I have chosen Trails from Keymaster Games. This is a game where each player is trekking across a vista of different locations and national parks across North America, collecting resources as they go, trading them in for badges at the end to score points which represent their experience upon their travels. So this game is the baby brother of Parks, again by Keymaster Games. It's a bit more of a stripped down version of it, a bit more streamlined, which makes it perfect for people getting into board games, giving them a little bit of a next step in their board games journey. So if you've played games like Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, the usual kind of gateway games, then Trails does make for a suitable next stop on your board games travels, which is quite nice because it's a game all about journeys and travelling. The pieces in it are really nice. It's got a really nice striking visual style to it, and it always feels like you are doing something, which is something that surprised me when I opened the box and saw that there are 7 tiles that you would be using, 2 of which always stay there and the others which are shuffled up and randomised. However, for that, it provides a lot of versatility in the game, giving you options every game as to what you want to do. You also have badge cards and photo cards that you will be obtaining throughout the game, and you will never go through a whole stack of these, so there'll always be something new coming up and different combinations for you to try out as well. The components in the game are really nice quality as well. Everything is nice and clear in the box and all tidies away at the end into a nice small package as well. So if you are looking for something that's fun and easy to play and still has a bit of meat to it, then Trails is perfect for you. Whether you are discovering the next game on your board game journey, or you're a more experienced board gamer and you're looking for something that maybe is a bit more of a filler, it really is a game that kind of fits all styles of gameplay there. So that is Parks by Keymaster Games. If you live locally and you would like to try it out, we do have it available in our board games library. That's just £2 per person, and you pay for the entire day. And as always, there'll be a link in our YouTube channel to our social media and our website. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Hey, Frenzy Gamers, it's Frenchy from Frenchy Plays Games. I hope you're all doing well. My best of the month for September in 2022 is a game that actually surprised me of how sticky it became with me, one of my favorite games from this year. Frenchy tends to play a lot of the heavier strategy, Euro-style games and also the epic games, but I'm an omni-gamer also and play virtually everything. And this game rose above because of how much it surprised me in its accessibility and replayability as well as its strategy. And that is the Guild of the Merchant Explorers. So this is a game in which each player is going to have a map, so you're going to choose one of the 4 different maps. Each player will take a copy of that map. And then they will be placing cards, flipping them up from a very small deck in which it will show players exactly where they're going to be placing their cubes. And so they're going to start from their center city and go ahead and place cubes throughout the map, extending from that and continue to create this trail leading back to that. As players travel and bring their cubes out as the cards are revealed, they will uncover and do a lot of different things. So if they explore a region of all the tiles in a region, maybe they're all grassland tiles or desert or mountain, they can go ahead and set a village. That village will be essential to go ahead and have a starting point that's not the center of the map in the different eras, so they don't always have to start back in the center every era. They can also go ahead and uncover coins. Those coins will give them points for the end of the game. They may also connect other cities as well and score points based on the multiplier effect from those cities and create a trading post. They can also go ahead and uncover ruins, which will be in some of the different remote areas, and those ruins will be able to allow them to get different points via endgame scoring effects. They may also go ahead and discover some of the peripheral discovery cities on the exterior of the board as well, in which they'll be able to get points based on how many they have. And then also there's going to be 3 cards randomly drawn at the beginning of the game, which players can go ahead and score as goals. When they do that, the first player will get the bigger bonus, and then all subsequent players will get the secondary bonus. For me, this game was introduced to me by some very seasoned gamers that I play, and we actually have a lot of overlap in what we like to play. And the amount of variability this has, even though the game has very small amount of cards, because of the different era cards that get inserted every era, that players will go ahead and draft different cards that are going to be unique to them to do different things on the map other than the standard scoring, and then also being able to play the map because of even that small card economy being shuffled up and the randomness of it. Each map, even if you play it in subsequent games, will be played differently based on the strategy and what you try to unlock. So not only is the variability and replayability quite high for a little bit of content, it also is very accessible, very easy to understand, very nice to go ahead and explore the different depths of. And the 4 maps create a lot of variety, and there is some speculation that there will be more content coming out, which would be great. But for me, this game is readily accessible, putting it in my gaming group pile that I will bring for people that want to have a nice accessible game to play. And again, it really surprised me. It has stuck with me for September, and I played some really fantastic games this month. A game I highly recommend. So for September, Guild of the Merchant Explorers. You can see me, Frenchy, here at Frenchy Plays Games on YouTube. Also check me out on Instagram and Facebook. And until next time, play nice and enjoy the month.
Some great picks. I'm extremely envious of Evan being able to play Comic Hunters for such a high price tag to get it over here in the UK. And if you wanted to know a little bit more about Frenchy's pick, the Merchant Guild of Explorers, there is a review on the channel, so you can go and check that out. I'll try and link it in the doodah. Anyway, my pick, I said at the start it was an easy pick, and that's because it kind of was. Ark Nova, super hot, super everyone's top picks, and I've finally, in the last month and a half, been able to get my own copy, get it to the table a load, and, well, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? I really like the sort of slow build. In my first game I was like, oh, this is long, it maybe needs some thinning down, and then actually, quite quickly when you've played a few games, it's still long. But it's not quite as long. And you are building out your zoo, trading up your sort of action cards and picking which ones you want to upgrade slowly but surely as you progress through the game. Being able to play animals that maybe other players can't. Maybe play sponsors earlier than anyone else. Maybe take cards from the middle when others can't. And all that sort of goodness. It's also one of the games that's really stuck in my mind. I lost one game by a point, and at least the rest of that day, if not longer, I was frustrated because I knew there was a way early on in the game that I had taken a decision and I could have gained a point and then made it at least down to a tiebreaker, if not 2 points, to have won it. And it's just, you've seen other videos that I've put out on the channel, some of the best sponsor cards or animal powers, and it's because this game has been in my head. It's every time it's hit the table, I am happy that it's hit the table. I want it to hit the table again, even though it's like 3 hours or however long it's taken. I've taught it to new players. Alright, they weren't like brand new gamers, they've played a lot of games, so it actually was quite an easy teach, which is kind of baffling for a game of this sort of size that you can teach it well. You're making zoos, you're picking cool animals, even if you're not doing very well, you've got some cool stuff to talk about, you've got all the maps so you can sort of try to abuse their powers and then moan that theirs is clearly better, and then in the next game use that one and still complain about it. Yeah, I'm excited for the expansions. Not even just expansion, there's that micro map one and then the main one coming soon. All in all, I love Terraforming Mars. I don't think this is replacing it, but hell, it's staying in the collection, very proud alongside it. And yeah, my pick of the month, because it's every time it's hit the table, it's been, I really need to get this to the table again because it's so good. And I can't wait to play it again, Ark Nova. Anyway, on with the next creator, which I think is Simon.
Hey buddies, welcome to Amass Games. My name is Simon. Today I'm bringing you Best of the Month for the month of September 2022. Now this particular month I have been away at the Manchester Tabletop Gaming Live event, the first time I set up in Manchester. I happened to put a request out saying, does anyone have any of the following games, including Hedara or Et Labora, amongst many others. I managed to play some of those requests, such as Broom Service or Et Labora, and a few other games as well, so it's great to give those a shot, plus some newer games as well. Those will be found obviously on the channel. Now, in terms of Or Et Labora, it's my 32nd Uwe Rosenberg game. I look forward to potentially meeting him in a couple of weeks over at Spiel in Essen in Germany. I'll be over there again and maybe coming back with 95 plus games again. But in this instance, I'll tell you why it is my game of the month, having played 100 different board games and passing 2,000 different board games now that I've now reviewed. So this stands for Work and Pray, or Pray and Work is what Or Et Labora means. Obviously labour for work, and aura as in like a halo effect. It's a very similar game to Agricola meets Glass Road meets Fields of Arla. Now I think it's higher rated for myself than Agricola, based the way it plays. I prefer Caverna over Agricola, and as much as I like Glass Road, I just like the way that you are now forced to be aware of where those resources are, unlike in Glass Road in Or Et Labora. The way you flip over cards, yes, there is a combinatorial aspect to some of Uwe's games, such as Patchwork and Agricola, but in this instance, I really do like what goes on in Or Et Labora. It doesn't take as long, especially if you play the short mode. It fits in very nicely to myself. It's quite straightforward. The fact you can build coasts, and I'm just going to take you through some of these areas now. Yep, you can get these coastal things. You're paying some coins to get some coast onto the side of your main terrain. Here we go. You can add some bits to the side here. Here's that central glass road-like effect going on. You can build out from here, build your settlements, and as you might see, little arrows here, which will score you points. You've got things adjacent to it. It's a very clever idea. Fairly standard, pawns that you're using here as well. Like I said, 7 coins, you get 3 points for having adjacent settlements, and they can also score you points as well. What this represents here is you get 5 victory points at the end of the game, and also you get 2 victory points being next to a settlement. This is a settlement represented by this hut. So you'll score 2 points being next to this. This scores 5 points being next to another thing. So here it is, it's another item here. So it likes to be near other things. And in this instance, you had to pay 1 fuel and 5 food to get this. But some things over here can give you fuel. This is a Joker token over here that can help. You've got food, you've got meat, that kind of stuff, grain. And sometimes you need grain to get other things. Sometimes you need to convert your grain to other stuff to actually get more out of it as well. So fairly standard, obviously an expert level box here. And just some various box guises, blimey, all the way over there as well, you can get it. And for some reasons, you can sometimes get the cats. I highly recommend what other people have done, such as this, using a little container to keep hold of your items. Very important. And let's have a look at a few more pictures to show you how it all looks out when you do build things out. So yeah, your buildings off to the side, as you can see, more cats available, it seems. I don't recognise this, that might well be an expansion or something else you can do. Yeah, they've gone for some kind of funky arts over here, it looks like. Yep, and here's a good example of these trays that you can use. Yep, you can lose these resources if you do not use them all up, so it's something to be aware of. It seems to be very much a nice solo challenge for some, though. As you can see, building out all these coastal areas. Sometimes you need coast to actually place out certain settlements, so sometimes you need to think about that going forward. New different settlements will come out throughout the game. So very nice to play this older game, actually. As you've seen, I've played quite a few of these older games. Why not, to be honest? Playing lots of new games. But there we go. This has been Ora et Labora Game of the Month for the month of September 2022. Looks forward to speaking to you again soon. For now, back to the table.
Hi everyone, I'm Nathan, and my shout out for the month of September is games that are thematically linked. The power of these linkings just gives the games more fun and appeal to me sometimes, not always. Here's an example. Architects of the West Kingdom. Architects of the West Kingdom is a super fun game where you gather resources. It's beautiful. You build these great, beautiful buildings with your resources that you gather that are represented by cards, but the artwork is beautiful on the cards. And you make a nice kingdom in the year 850. And you've made your wonderful kingdom, and it's so nice. But hey, you say, there's a sequel. A sequel, I say. Yes, a thematically linked sequel, you say. It's called Paladins of the West Kingdom. What? Tell me more, I say. Well, it's a heavy-ish Euro. It takes 2.5 hours. The AI is very difficult to beat. Okay, pass, I say. Wait, you say. It takes place 50 years after Architects of the West Kingdom, and the kingdom that you've built is under siege by outsiders, and it's your job to protect the kingdom. Save the kingdom from the outsiders. What, I say? Sign me up. Let's go. I still win maybe 15% of the time when I play this game. I played it dozens of times. Deal me in. It's awesome. And then, of course, there's a third one that I may or may not have even thought about named Viscounts, where it takes place 30 years later. And, let's see here. I've got notes. No, you lead the kingdom to prosperity or poverty based on your actions. Or you can have both, prosperity and poverty. I call that the USA ending. Another example of a game that is thematically linked, games that are thematically linked, of course, is Role Player. Role Player is a great game where you roll dice to make a character, which is the best part of Dungeons and Dragons, if anybody asks. And then you score points and try and, score points. Has a thematic sequel that takes place in the same fantasy world. And if I hadn't already enjoyed Role Player, then I would never have noticed the map drawing game because my drawing skills are terrible. I cannot draw. It would just be frustrating. But because it was set in the same beautiful world, I found my favorite game and app, Cartographers.
Hi, it's Barb MeeplePhD, and my favorite play for September 2022 was not as hard a pick as I expected it to be. My husband and I went to the Dice Tower Retreat a couple of weeks ago where we played 25 new to us titles. Along with all of the games we've played with friends over the last few weeks, I was expecting this to be a really hard pick. But there was one standout from the retreat called Monsters on Board. I don't have a copy of it, sadly, but I am looking for one. I liked it that much. This is a dice drafting game where the theme is that you are controlling this group of monsters who are running through a town and haunting it, while also performing rituals in order to summon the Pumpkin King. In reality, of course, what you're doing is drafting different dice. You're looking for different colors that allow you to move your monsters through town. But also the dice have different symbols on them. More symbols, the lower the number on the die. But of course you can score more for higher dice. So it's a bit of a push-pull about what dice you're going to pick and where you're going to place them on your board and which ones you're going to use to activate, the symbols on them, but you also have one that gives you money in order to buy things to upgrade your neighborhoods and make your monsters even more powerful. So it's a game where you're chaining together a lot of different things, which it just makes my heart sing. Couple that with the amazing art in this game, and I am all in. In fact, I am trying to find a copy that I can purchase, but if I can't, I will just have to look forward to the retreat next year, where I can hopefully have a chance to play it again. It is also an amazing lead-in to the Halloween season, where we're going to get out all of the eerie and monster-themed games, which I am also looking forward to over the next month. So I hope you all have a great month. If you want to find me elsewhere on the internet, I am at Meeple PhD on Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube, where I connect astronomy and board games and do other fun board game things. We'll see you next month.
And well, that about wraps us up here today for Best of the Month, but make sure you go and check out all of the creators involved. Their links will be in the description box below. Share the love, give them a subscribe, watch some of their videos, all that sort of stuff, because, they're there to provide you some entertainment and board gaming news and knowledge and reviews and stuff. So check them all out, stay subscribed here as well, and until next time, have a great month gaming.